All right, there we go. Let's get everybody else up in here before it's time to go. Monday morning. 1 check mark, 2 check marks. All right, guys, welcome in. It is 7:35 a.m. on January 24th. Off the end of January is in sight, and it is Monday morning. That means it's time for another episode of Broncos for Breakfast. I am Nick Kendell, and joined by, as always, co-host, friend, and football football person. You know what? That's a good title. It's football person. Scott Kennedy. Scott, how you doing this fine Monday morning?
Good. I always like the one of my favorite, like my dream title was director of football. I saw that one a few times on some of the college guys. Like, what do you do? I'm the director of football. Like, yes,
what about the president of football? I like the president of football.
Yeah.
even more official. Yeah, no, man, Scott, what a fantastic week of football that we just had in front of us. Obviously, we're going to get into these games a bit, talk a little bit of the overtime rules, as I can see the chat is already getting in on, but just in general, I want to take a second to appreciate, forget about the end result, just the quality of football that was played this weekend and how every single game was as close as any game could possibly be. And such quarterback play, superstars making plays, good defensive lines making plays. It had everything. It had everything. It was such a great weekend of football.
Yeah, and just a couple of things. I've already been in here a little bit, mixing it up some. Couple of things I want to, and it's nice when you got the microphone. So what's nice about digital communications is you can get the last word because I don't have to read this side. I wanted to talk about a couple of things and clarify them. One, should they have squib kicked? No, I don't think so. The Bills, obviously, the Bills coming down, 13 seconds left with a squib kick. A squib kick, you don't start the clock until the ball is touched by the opposition. And a squib kick can hit somebody early and fall on it quick. And you picked up 20 yards with only running off 1 second. You can fall on it on the 35. When they lined up, I said, kick that thing through the damn end zone. Kick it as far as you can. You should be able to stop somebody with 13 seconds, for God's sakes. And the other one is the overtime rules. Who likes the overtime rules? People are saying, well, you know them in advance. So what? It's still a crap rule. Well, win it, and you should be able to stop it in 13 seconds. Wait, I didn't say one time the Bills lost this game because of a coin flip. Not once. Mm-mm. They lost it because they couldn't stop a team with 13 freaking seconds left. That's why they lost the game. Has nothing to do. I don't care who it is. I don't care how the game was won or lost. Both teams should have equal opportunity. In baseball, you get your fair ups. I mean, you get your fair ups. It's unfair if you don't get your ups. That's just the way it is. Yeah. So I don't like the rules. Knowing them in advance isn't going to make me like them anymore or think they're any more fair. And I felt cheated last night. I really did. I wanted to see just two amazing quarterbacks playing at the highest level in their teams. I think we all wanted to see, well, maybe not all, but we wanted to see both of them get a chance until one of them blinked. And we were cheated of that because of an archaic rule.
Yeah, they should. I think it's pretty obvious that they should allow the other team to respond regardless of the first possession. But, who knows what would have happened if that happened. Either way, we knew the rules going in. Chiefs were the better team, and the way the playoffs are formatted that everybody agreed to. Congratulations to Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, who will be hosting a fourth straight AFC championship game. It just makes me sick to even say, but fourth straight AFC championship game. And I want people hosting. Because
the Bills they had to have played in four straight because they played in four straight Super Bowls
and lost. But hosting fourth straight Super Bowl AFC. No team beforehand had ever done it 3 times in a row, and the Chiefs have done it now 4 times. So, congratulations, Kansas City. God, freaking arseholes. DWI guys, not an arsehole. I think maybe they say that across the pond there to make it not as bad. Ethan, good morning to you, Ethan, with the 50 pounds. God bless you. That is amazing. Contribution to the Hire Nathaniel Hackett Fund. Let's get him locked down ASAP. What a great weekend of games. Well, Ethan, thank you so much for supporting us and helping us. And you've been such a difference maker for us, our shows. So, God, I don't even know what to say. I don't even know where to start. Thank you so much, Ethan. Happy Monday to you. And hopefully we have another great weekend of games next week.
Yeah, so we talked the show off. Yeah, the football, like I said beginning of the playoffs, I'm like, I just don't remember. And granted, I haven't followed NFL football this closely in a long time. I was professional in college, and then when I was out of things, My fandom was somewhere else. So I haven't followed professional football this closely in a while, in several years. But I just never, and one of the reasons why I never really remember getting the feeling that it was this wide open, that it really was. And maybe the Chiefs are going to go and just win the whole thing again, and it's all going to feel like a sham. But the Bills had that game. I mean, they didn't have it, but it was, they were certainly in it. The Chiefs are not by far and away. We're not talking about the 2000s of Kobe and Shaq, or the Michael Jordan Bulls, or the Tom Brady Patriots, for that matter, where you just going in who the teams are going to be. I picked the Bills and the Packers. Hell, they're both gone in the divisional round. Yep. So it's been an incredible ride, and I'm really looking forward to this weekend.
Yeah, and this game really, this Bills-Chiefs game specifically, really emboldened me that you think your team has enough cornerbacks. If you're going up against Patrick Mahomes, you're wrong. You need 4 or 5 guys and his track meets to last that end of the game.
You saw what I posted after the San Francisco game, or I'm sorry, after the Rams game and Bucks game. How about some freaking safeties? Don't tell me. Oh, I believe you. I believe you 100% that the safety position's been devalued by personnel. It shows.
Yeah.
The safety play is awful. It's awful. Let's put a little bit more value into the guys that are going to prevent you looking like a fool late in the game.
Yeah.
Here's to the safety. You know what was fun after I tweeted that? Kyle Hamilton's dad retweeted me.
No way. That's awesome.
He hashtagged it, safeties matter. I'm like, I was speaking to you, Mr. Hamilton. Absolutely.
Hashtag future Denver Bronco. Although, unless Scott's Falcons really make me upset, which is possible. We'll see what happens. We got Juan coming in. Good morning to Juan Gonzalez. He says good morning to us. That's nice, Juan. 2 questions for us. The last 3 candidates, who do you like between them? So I guess let's get into this first. Thank you, Juan, for kicking us off here. The Broncos have unofficially, I think it's unofficially because it hasn't come from the team account itself, but they've chopped their candidate list down from 10 to 3, and the final 3 men standing, according to Mike Klis's league sources, are 2 the people that people thought it would be, in the likes of Packers offensive coordinator Nathaniel Hackett and Dallas Cowboys defensive coordinator, Atlanta Falcons former head coach Dan Quinn, the one who was maybe a little bit of a dark horse that is still hanging. It's not Jonathan Gannon, like a lot of people were assuming, with the connections to the Broncos organization with Paton and Philly Eagles defensive coordinator, but rather it is Kevin O'Connell, the offensive coordinator for the Los Angeles Rams. So your final 3, Dan Quinn, Kevin O'Connell, and Nathaniel Hackett. Who do you guys like? How do you like out of those last 3? I think good job. I mean, 2 of the 3 offensively. That's great to see because the Broncos need to score some points. If that's about probably what you were just about to say. I'm excited about them. I really like O'Connell. I'm a big fan.
It's 2 out of 3, but unless it's one of those 2, I'm going to feel like it was just a little misdirection.
Mm-hmm.
See?
They got me.
We went out and looked at the offensive guys. We just didn't think they were the right fit for us. Yeah. We think that we felt good going with Dan Quinn. So it seemed like all of the coordinators were offensive guys in Dan Quinn. Mm-hmm. that they were interviewing and looking at. So just a little misdirection. So I don't know. That's a I think Monsters Inc. reference, by the way. Kids, movies, sports, and cars. That's about the only things I know. I don't know. I'd still like to see Hackett. Yeah. I really would. We can get into a little bit of, just for a shade. I feel like when we talk Rodgers, we are talking Broncos. And part of this game, which team, this is pretty easy, Nick, which team is more quarterback dependent? The Green Bay Packers or the San Francisco 49ers?
The Packers.
The Packers. Okay. Yeah. So when you're playing in 0-degree weather, snow, and wind, you just have the great quarterback killer. You just have the equalizer out there. So you brought the quarterback level down, the passing game level down. So if I'm looking at that and thinking, wow, who wants those guys? Who wants Hackett? Rodgers is overrated, blah, blah, blah. Nobody could throw the ball in that weather. The passing game was negated. I still am a Aaron Rodgers believer. I'm still an Aaron Rodgers believer. I still think Hackett is a good football coach. That game didn't sway me one direction or the other. I was impressed with San Francisco going in and being that tough in Green Bay. Loved it. And you have to think that the next game that was being played, Tampa, Florida, LA Rams, we're actually pretty happy that San Francisco won that game because they not only get to get home, but it means they don't have to go to Green Bay in January.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It was great. That was a great game. The special teams, man, that was horrible, kind of laughable. There must be something in the laws of the universe that an NFC North team has to cost a game, special teams wise, every 4 years, because you've had the Bears, you've had the Vikings, now the Packers do that. Pretty big, pretty hilarious. We'll see what happens with Aaron Rodgers down the stretch.
There's
here.
Something else in the universe that says Tom Brady has to get 15 chances a game.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
the Rams, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
When's the last time y'all saw 4 lost fumbles and a missed field goal in 31 minutes? Win or lose? And
Tom Brady devil magic.
At the point, like, good God. Didn't Tom Brady do a guest spot on Lucifer? Wouldn't Lucifer doing Tom Brady some favors? This is it's insane.
It is.
And they go out and win. And when Stafford stepped back, y'all have heard me say before, when you get a 1, 2, 3, 4 throw, a 3-step, 5-step, 7-step drop, and you throw in rhythm, and he went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and turned it loose, I was on my feet. I was like, here it goes. I mean, like, you don't throw that unless you in that rhythm like that, unless you feel like you've got it. And then you look back, Cooper Kupp's got 3 steps on the
Cooper
guy.
Kupp, yeah.
What are you doing?
Depth at cornerback.
I know safety play has been devalued.
Yeah.
Not anymore. Bring back the safety.
Bring back the safety, and also 2 teams that this really, maybe not to, peddle this to my own propaganda here, but you had 2 teams here. One team that was, cover 0 look at the end of the game, which for some people in Broncos country, we want to blitz more. We want to blitz more. The winning formula in the NFL on defense is to rush with 4. The Buccaneers could not do that at the end. It cost them that final drive. And the 49ers did it great. They were able to get pressure with 4 consistently. And because of that, they were able to keep players deep, and they were able to bracket Devontae Adams. And that pretty much piddled down the Packers offense.
It's amazing how many mistakes a 4-man rush can cover up, because the Rams offense, special teams, it was all offense, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The 4 fumbles. Cam Akers, fumbled snap, and Cooper Kupp. And then a field goal miss. And they win the game. Why? And that's why I felt like, as I was watching this, I'm like, okay, what I'm thinking watching 27-3 and Tom Brady, for God's sakes. I'm like, I've seen this movie before. I'm like, yeah, but the Falcons didn't have Aaron Donald and Von Miller and Leonard Floyd. They can get after them with 4 and still go get it. So, as many mistakes as the Falcons made in the Super Bowl, they didn't make that many. They didn't make as many as the Rams just did. The Rams just had a much more balanced team.
Yep, exactly. And the final question here, Stingley Jr. versus Ekwonu at 9. Who would you pick if they were there? I think it's more likely that Stingley's there than Ekwonu. Both these guys, I have 2 big questions for each of them before I could fully answer this. Derek Stingley, there's some talk out there that there may be some concerns about his foot. So that's something you want to watch for. And Ekwonu, that arm length. Does he come in at 33, 34 inches? If he's under 33, like that guy's a guard. If he's 33, we saw Rashawn Slater last year make it at 33 at left tackle. That's not typical. I think there's only one offensive tackle in the entire NFL that's sub 33, so he has to be at least 33. If he's 34, then he's made. I don't care if he's 6'3", he's going to be fine. But I guess right now I lean Ekwonu, but I would be over the moon with either of these guys based on what I know right now.
Yeah, I'd probably go Stingley, honestly. If he checks out with a clean bill of health, I think Stingley. It's a little scary though that he came into the scene with that much hype and then has fallen off some. Okay, yes. Is he tapped out? Is this it? Basically, if he could be a true number 1 corner, I'd rather have him than I'd rather have the true number 1 right now than Ekwonu as a tackle. If you
More
told
impactful.
me, let's flip this around a little bit and say, who would you rather have, Penei Sewell or Pat Surtain? I would have taken Penei Sewell. So I actually like the tackle a little bit better than the corner, assuming they're both blue chip guys. I don't know enough about Ekwonu at this point. So there's questions there for both of them.
Yeah. If
Stingley falls, it's because the questions have been answered negatively. He should go higher than 9 if he's got a clean bill of health.
Yeah, there'll be questions with both those guys. We'll have a chance to dig into them more. But we want to say hello to some more people in the chat here. Thank you for the question. Juan coming in with our first comment there. We're still on. Sean Burns, good morning. Playoffs are enjoyable so far. This weekend was. Hoping the Broncos get the right coach and quarterback if there is one to take. The morning show is my favorite. Well, Sean,
Cheers.
You're my favorite, Sean. No, thank you so much, Sean, for the comment. It's really nice of you to say. We appreciate it. Luke saying good morning.
My son's name is Sean, and he's got the SEAN, good old fashioned Irish spelling too.
Yeah, that's Irish. I'm German over here. We're Ostfriesland is the.
I thought I was German until I had a kid named Sean McAllister Kennedy with a 4-leaf clover born on his butt. So yeah, I'm Irish.
The new season of It's Always Sunny, they go to Ireland. It's pretty fun. Michael Laziri coming in. Is it if this is really true, well then it's a solid trio to choose from, but I'll admit I was hoping Brian Callahan would be a final consideration. And he's saying the playoffs are depressing. Watching Allen, who he is now, just sad and frustrating. Yeah, it's God, man, it'd be nice to go back in time and be like, hey, Elway, you should probably hire Kyle Shanahan, keep Shaq Barrett, and draft Josh Allen. But alas, that offseason was sliding doors, and who knows
Dan
what would have
Quinn promote Matt LaFleur instead of hiring Steve Sarkisian. Hindsight is brilliant. Looking at that LA offense, though, Quinn passed on LaFleur because he wasn't sure that he was ready to be an offensive coordinator. They went from like 32-1 that year that McVay brought him in. There's more to it than that, obviously, but the differential in I don't think I've ever seen anything like that, Nick. It was in points. I was looking up the Rams, and it was like they were like 31st or 32nd in points scored, and then in 2017 they went to like 1. I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive.
That is impressive. It is impressive. I don't know if you saw. Did you see the win probability chart of that Chiefs-Bills game too? I mean, I've never seen anything like that in my life.
50-50? I don't know.
No.
As each team scored. Yeah, with 13 seconds. It's which pretty much means if you roll it back to the third quarter, you say it's 50-50, the last team with the ball. Unfortunately, it came down to a coin flip, the last team with the ball. But it's one of those, you say whoever has the ball last is going to win this game.
Yep. Unfortunately, that turned out to be true, and that was somewhat decided by a coin flip, but I'm just bitter. We got DBA coming in. Good morning, y'all. Heard Sean Payton might want out of New Orleans, but he might not want to sit out a year. Not sure what the sitting out a year is about. I'm not sure how we could fill the head coach for a year, but I wish we could get him. Is there a rule here that I'm unaware of about Sean Payton?
He might want to.
He might want to
take a year off, do a nice cushy media assignment before getting back into it. Mike Fisher, Cowboys SI, has been banging that drum because he knows that Jerry Jones loves Sean Payton. So
nobody can pay him more.
There's a little bit of smoke there. There's a little bit of smoke there for sure. Good morning, US Dave. This is a comment I like here. Burrow was sacked 9 times and still beat the Titans. So we figured out, if we're doing a little math here as we're doing our formulas, 3 interceptions is greater than 9 sacks. I think that's what we found out in that one. So you got a chance to recover from a sack. It's hard to do that from an interception, let alone 9 of them. Anthony Edwards.
Yeah.
Appreciate you being here. When I see you come in sometimes in the evening shows, I say Anthony Goose Edwards. I put you down there. So for me, Anthony Edwards is always Goose from Top Gun. Nick's probably too young. He probably thinks of Anthony Edwards as being on one of those doctor shows, or that's still probably too old for him. But yes, Anthony Edwards, we appreciate you being here. And I'm sure you're tired of hearing that. Apologies in advance. But I think it's a cool name, especially with the double E. So it's finally on a work schedule where I can watch my favorite morning sports show. Thank you guys for the great work. Yesterday was a great day for sports fans. Yeah, especially if you started at 11:30 Eastern and watched Chelsea whip Spurs in a London derby. So that was a nice way to warm up before a great day of football. It was a terrific day for the sports fan. For the neutral, especially, to watch some really, really entertaining football games. And appreciate you, Anthony.
Thank you so much, Anthony. We appreciate you. We got KB82 coming in. I've never seen so many sacks in the playoffs ever. This is the thing that we talked about with, at least I talked about with Justin Fields coming out of the draft, where Justin Fields is going to take a lot of sacks. It's because he's greedy in the pocket, looking for the big play, holding on to it to the last moment to make something happen. And we saw that with Joe Burrow getting sacked 9 times, but still creating enough plays down the field vertically where it worked. And the thing about the Bengals offense and Joe Burrow that they have that, let's say, the Broncos don't have, is that they can live getting out of those sacked plays. I mean, how many times were those sacks did they automatically result in the Bengals having to punt? I would guess that at least half of them, they still ended up getting the first down, which is insane. But for the Broncos, I mean, you'd get a run stuff and it'd be 2nd and 10 and you might as well punt it. Bengals are 3rd and 15 and you still think they are a viable option to convert that first down, playing a different game.
That game was 19-16. The defense did their jobs. It's not like that Joe Burrow recovered from all those and still put up a 30 spot on them.
No.
That was the defense picking off Tannehill 3 times. Yeah. Like I said, it was the 3 interceptions ended up trumping the 9 sacks. You're not normally going to win if you're giving up 9 sacks, but you don't often get 3 interceptions in a game either. Yeah. So the turnovers, as we've said, is the turnovers are much more damaging than the sacks. And I think if we ever needed proof of that, we just got it.
Yep. Yeah. No, turnovers are big. And also, I don't know if you guys recall, but when we were heading into that Broncos-Cincinnati game, I was pretty taken aback by how good the advanced metrics liked the Bengals defense because of how much the Bengals offense had not helped the defense with the peripherals, turnovers, field position, amount of plays per drive, 3 and outs per drive. A lot of things that the Bengals actually were struggling with. And the per possession data for the Bengals defense was top 10 in the NFL. And they were not really thought of as a top 10 unit. And they've actually been a pretty good unit here down the stretch. I think the biggest thing for the Bengals down the stretch here, I think they've gone 6 games in a row now where they haven't turned the ball over or something. 5 games in a row they haven't turned the ball over. You're going to win football games when you're not turning the ball over. It's especially when you have a good quarterback.
Clee says, my favorite formula is one where we score more points than the other team. It's almost foolproof. That's not the formula, though. Yeah. That's the answer.
That's the outcome. That's the outcome you want.
The formula is everything that leads up to the answer of total points. But no, I get it. Just, it's like I can tell you what the score of the game is going to be before it even starts. 0-0. Yeah. I'm good like that. Nathan coming in with some stars. Appreciate you, Nathan. Getting us started on Facebook today. Getting us started with some stars. So appreciate you, Nathan. And good morning to you. As good Nick morning. Is going for a pour.
Getting more coffee. I need it. It's Monday morning. Last week was a short week with Martin Luther King Day. We got the full week this week, so I need all of it I can get. Also, 2 hikes this weekend. Getting up early, greeting the sun. So been up this early, but did not catch up on sleep like I normally do. So let's get into it a little bit, Scott, while the chat is still coming in. We're probably going to go about another 15 minutes here today to see if anybody comes in.
I'm going to hit Mark here real quick. Mark came in with some big stars this morning. He says, what a weekend of football. Good morning, guys. Watching the Chiefs game. We have a lot of work to do to beat either team. Yeah, I said I wasn't the only one. This isn't some, big, bold hot take that this was the AFC Championship game. I really felt like these were the 2 best teams, and I saw nothing that made me think otherwise. I also would said if Josh Allen plays a game like he did against the Patriots, that they weren't going to get beaten. He was pretty good.
Mahomes went nuclear too.
It was pretty close. Yeah. I think during the chat, I was like, Mahomes is pulling his freaking Houdini act. And all that does, we talk about body blows, Nick, the running game. Mm-hmm. When you got 4 to 6 guys in the front 7 constantly chasing around Mahomes in the first half of that game. And then they're trying to, and he's still getting his first downs and still converting. They were gassed. That's what makes the overtime rules so, unfair, is those defenses are toast after a game like that. And he was pretty amazing. I'm looking forward to seeing, Donald and Netanyahu. He was in a lot. He went big. He's part of our community and posts a lot. He went in big on the Chiefs being overrated and Mahomes stat padding. Like, I think we might want to rethink that one. If you haven't already given the kid his due, it's time. He's really good. And Josh Allen is really good. If these aren't the 2 best quarterbacks in the NFL, who is?
Yeah. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is the other one.
I meant to say young. I was like, did I say young? Because I meant young. Who are the 2 best young quarterbacks in the NFL? And frankly, Aaron Rodgers might be the only one that is that
in the conversation.
Stand with them. Matt Stafford's really good too. I'm a big fan of Matthew Stafford. Yeah. But as far as the next generation, who are the guys we're going to watch over the next 10 years? We got a pretty good. These 2 have made a pretty good case.
Yeah, I would also put Justin Herbert and Joe Burrow in the mix as well as guys who are nominees, not on Allen and Mahomes' level, just because of the sample size. We've seen it over different seasons, different iterations. But will be interesting to see what happens here going forward. Man, the AFC is going to be so tough. We're talking about what can the Broncos do to close the gap here. The path to the Super Bowl in the AFC is going to be constantly difficult because you have some emerging gods at the quarterback position, where the NFC feels a lot more wide open. Really, I mean, what young quarterbacks in the NFC are you hanging your hat on right now? I'm having a hard time. It's the old guard in the NFC.
I mean,
Maybe Kyler Murray.
Dak Prescott, the guys like that. Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott.
I wouldn't put them on the
next
level.
guys. Stafford's not young. I went and watched him in Texas in about 2005, so he's mid-30s then.
Yeah.
Let's see who else is in there. We'll have to see what Trey Lance does. Can Trey Lance step up and be a guy, because he could Mac Jones his way into a Super Bowl. Yeah. Mac Jones was getting all of the plaudits this year, and he's just a system guy first. That was the whole team. Yeah. Well, are the 49ers in the championship game because of Jimmy Garoppolo? No, they're not. They might be in there despite him. Yeah. So they're building a really, really good team. And if Trey Lance can upgrade that team, look out. 49ers are going to be tough.
Yeah, they are. Maybe Justin Fields as well. If they bring in Brian Dabble with the quarterback power that they were using with the Bills and whatnot. I mean, the Bills offense with Justin Fields and his size and speed and arm talent down the field, I think would be pretty damn incredible. I really do. I hope they bring him in because that would be a lot of fun. But we'll see. The AFC is going to be tough for Denver. How can they close the gap? That's something we can talk about here this offseason. Obviously, there are multiple avenues. Easiest one is to, if you plug in an elite quarterback, you're going to have a chance. No dip, but going to have to explore other avenues as well going forward. It's going to be a lot of fun. But I think it's really important for Broncos country to understand the position that they find themselves in right now, given the quality of quarterback play in the AFC and in the AFC West. It's going to be a tough road to travel. Falling soft coming in. Been a whole season of Cincinnati being doubted like this and surprised people who aren't paying attention. Going to be interested in these. That was the AFC Championship takes when Cincinnati's in the Super Bowl. I think it's pretty obvious to me that the Bills and the Chiefs are better football teams than the Bengals, better talent across the board. But you're talking about a single game. And in a single game, a lot of fluky things can happen. And you're talking about that the Bills versus the Chiefs was the AFC Championship game. That game probably resulted in a pretty big catharsis. Talk about having to leave it all there on the field. I could see the Chiefs coming out maybe a little bit flat after that Sunday night game, just with how emotional it was, what an incredible game it was, how much the defense was on the field, having to play a track meet. I mean, I could see them being tired. The Bengals having an extra day of rest compared to the Chiefs as well. All these factors matter. It's not like the Cincinnati didn't just play a big emotional game as well on a last-second field goal, but it didn't feel as taxing as the Chiefs-Bills game. So anything can happen. I agree that the best two teams in the playoffs remaining, let alone in the AFC, were the Bills and the Chiefs. But Cincinnati's got a chance. When you have an elite quarterback that can make big plays, you got a chance.
Yeah, and Jamar Chase is there. He's a difference maker too. Joe Mixon can play. The defense is good. Cincinnati's in the championship game for a reason. I wasn't surprised at all that they beat the Titans. If they go into Kansas City and beat the Chiefs, I'll be surprised. Yeah. I will be. It's a 7-point game. I'd probably take the Chiefs to cover that right now, but we'll see. Going to be interesting. I'll certainly say, hey, I was surprised. I was wrong. I'm not afraid to do that. You can't be. It won't. If you're going to make predictions, you better be able to go back and answer up to them. So it will surprise me. I will be absolutely surprised if they're in the Super Bowl. So good luck to them. I'm looking forward to the game.
I just don't think the Bengals have the horses.
We just got to speak what we want until it becomes true. Gardner Minshew. Make it happen. Positive affirmation. Doggone it.
I love that Gardner Minshew, the story of Gardner Minshew after he got the start for the Eagles, marching into Scangarelli. Is that the name? Scarinecki? Scarinecki's author?
Scangarello.
No, it's Nick Scarinecki, I want to say, the head coach of the Eagles, marching in there saying, I want to start. And he just laughs him out of the room saying, you're not starting, buddy. I'm sorry. So that's what you want to think about Gardner Minshew. Unfortunately, I don't think he's anything but a different flavor of not it, kind of like Drew Lock. Drew Lock maybe is Coke to Diet Minshew, Gardner Minshew's Diet Coke. But we got Shane Daniels coming in saying, morning, Nick and Scott. Great weekend of games. Just imagine if you took Josh Allen over Chubb at number 5 that year. God, I mean, we could play this game all game. And it's Nick Sirianni. I can't pronounce it. I'm having a hard time.
I remember it because
I can picture his face.
Saw him a couple times this year. I don't know.
Nick
I'll have to look at
Sirianni.
it.
Either way, it doesn't matter. He's out, but he's got a fun team coming forward. But yeah, Shane, it would be great if the Broncos took Josh Allen. Alas, here we are. The Josh Allen one stinks. The not looking at quarterback in 2017 because he had Paxton Lynch, that stinks. Maybe not trading up for Justin Herbert in the 2020 draft from 15 overall because you have Drew Lock in the house, that stinks. At some point, the Broncos are going to have to take a swing. You just hope they hit when they swing, because this does not look like a year where it would make sense to swing at the first pitch, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, and this was something that Nick and I talked about when we were going about Pat Surtain earlier. So this goes way back to the beginnings with Nick and I, and he was lamenting that pick for the moment we first got on a show together. And I was like, well, listen, you got a Pro Bowler. You got a Pro Bowler edge guy in Bradley Chubb. You know, as long as you're hitting on those, you're going to be okay. The problem is Bradley Chubb's looking less and less like a hit. You know, if Bradley Chubb is Bosa or Hendrickson or Von Miller, one of those guys, then you don't worry so much about it. Y'all have heard me say, and let's say it all together now, it's not the guys you miss that kill you. It's the guys that you get and can't play that kill you. It's not that you don't have Josh Allen. It's the fact that Bradley Chubb has been really disappointing the last 2 seasons. Yeah. Hopefully he comes in playing on a 1-year deal and he turns into that 15 to 17 sack guy that you thought when you had him. Then you forget about it a little bit. You know, Pat Surtain is a multiple-time Pro Bowl corner. You don't worry so much that you didn't take Justin Fields or Mac Jones. It's not as big a deal because, again, hindsight is a lot clearer.
Yeah.
But, you know, Nick, you would know better than me. I wasn't following it that closely at the time, but there's no way anybody expected this out of Josh Allen, or he wouldn't have been around.
Yeah, I mean,
number 1.
Yeah. I think the Bills actually identified him early on. They were going to try to get up the trade hit for him, number 1 overall, the year that would have been the Mitchell Trubisky draft. Then he went back for his senior year. At least that's, you know, who knows if that's true, but they identified him a year early. And take that for people who say that these teams don't look at the quarterback classes in the future because they don't know what's going to happen. Of course they do. And teams last year knew damn well, or had a good idea that the 2022 quarterback class was not going to be as good as 2021. And that's why you saw the movement and the aggression that you did last year. And here we are. So there's a lot of talk last year. Oh, teams don't know. Somebody could Joe Burrow or Baker Mayfield. Well, duh. But then you have guys who Christian Hackenberg and Matt Barkley as well. You know, a lot of volatile draft stock there at those quarterbacks. So damn well, these teams are looking at quarterbacks a year in advance, just trying to figure out the landscape to put themselves in the best situation. I think that's hogwash, if you want to say otherwise. Some people were indicating as such last offseason. I don't want to throw any names out there, but that's bull BS. Tim Greenwood coming in. Let me get off the anger here. Scott, how do you feel about Quinn as our head coach after having him in Atlanta? Yeah, Scott, if we get Quinn, we're going to have a lot of questions for you about the time in Atlanta and why it didn't work out. But what do you think about him off the cuff?
I think the word I was looking for, I came up with corny several times. I was like, that's not quite the word. He's rah-rah almost to the point of that where after a while it's going to wear off and become hokey. If you're winning, it's great. Rise up, the in brotherhood, the locked arms, all this stuff. It's what the Broncos need right now. After they need that injection of enthusiasm and life after having this last coaching staff that had none of it. They need a coach that the players can trust and believe in and play for. Dan Quinn brings all of that. How do I feel about him coming in? I think he will be, again, the bar is low, so it will be an immediate upgrade. I think you'll see an immediate bounce next year. How sustainable is it will depend on the staff that he's able to put around him and the improved quarterback play, whether that comes from Drew Lock, the draft, or free agency. The quarterback play has to get better. So how do I feel about him coming in? I'm excited for you in the short term because you're really, if and when he gets hired, you're really going to like him. You'll really like, because he'll be so different from what you've had that you're like, thank God we have a guy that we can cheer for now instead of curmudgeon-y old this and that. That and Paton is in 1 year. He's done more things I like than in 12 years of watching Thomas Dimitroff. What Thomas Dimitroff had going for him was an owner with deep pockets, and they could spend, and they could spend big. They could overspend, and you know what? We'll worry about it when the bill comes due later. Well, the bill's due, and the Falcons roster is absolutely freaking horrible. It's god awful right now.
It's bad.
And what's worse is they don't have any money to rebuild because Thomas Dimitroff spent it all 3 years ago in a last-ditch effort to try and save his job. So I'll be excited for you, and I'll be excited for watching this team again, where there was just so much, head shaking. You're watching them play, and there's just so much head shaking when you're watching the Denver Broncos play. Like you're better than this. Be better than this. They will be. They'll be better next year if Dan Quinn comes in and plays. There will be an immediate bounce, an uptick in enthusiasm, hustle, hard work, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, a few more questions here that I think I'm letting it play out and seeing how it goes, and I can like the schemes or not like the schemes, but as far as projecting these guys to be coaches, I think it's so hard to do with the information that we have that we won't really know until we see it. But other than with Quinn, who we have seen it before, so we kind of can make an educated guess on what it'll look like here. Not exactly a 1-for-1 because the situation will be different, the roster will be different, and he's learned things, I'm sure, since it. There's things he'd want to do differently, given that he was fired and didn't work out the first time with the Falcons. But question for Quinn: how do you feel about his game management? Is he aggressive? Because with Fangio, the big thing for me, the defense was great, offense wasn't good, special teams, blah blah blah, but it was the game management stuff. The fourth down calls, not super aggressive. They're almost always going for the more conservative decision and dropping the Broncos' win probability in doing so in each of those decisions. And the challenges, I've never seen a coach blindly challenge as much as Vic Fangio with the ideas. Also, there was complaints about Vic Fangio getting calls in late constantly, back and forth, trying to decide. Not a lot of gumption in as far as his decision making going. So what do you think about Dan Quinn in those areas of the game management? Because that really does fall on the head coach.
I think he got a little too conservative at times, especially on defense. But again, how much of that is with personnel?
Yeah.
If you look at some of the big losses, the old saying, the prevent defense just prevents you from winning. It wouldn't prevent too much for my liking. When the Falcons were good, they had double-digit sack guys, Jonathan Abraham, Vic Beasley. But they haven't had those guys, but maybe once a decade since the 90s. So I thought he got a little too conservative. We talk about things you learn. I've read the comments that Dan Quinn's, his coaching record wasn't very good. He was barely 500. Well, at least he's got a coaching record. That's the one thing. You're gonna dismiss this guy because he was a 500 coach in the NFL already. Well, this guy hadn't done anything yet, and that's part of the mentality. These other guys, they haven't shown anything. It's all just hopes and dreams. Dan Quinn has proven to be a successful coach. He's also proven that he can be unsuccessful. What are the circumstances that surround it? I've laid it at the feet more. Dan Quinn's not perfect. He's not blameless. Don't get me wrong on this. But Thomas Dimitroff was terrible. He was just awful. His default reaction to everything was, let's get another wide receiver. I know we just blew this huge lead. Let's get another wide receiver. I know we just gave up 48 points and didn't force the Packers to punt. We should trade 5 picks for a wide receiver. It's insanity.
And some breaking news.
Working with Paton can be a very, very successful partnership moving forward.
I agree. And some breaking news, not super shocking, but Mike Klis saying, per source, Dan Quinn is indeed coming into Broncos headquarters this week for a second interview. Probably I would say your odds-on favorite there. My odds-on favorite is Ethan coming in here with the 50 euros again. Food for thought on Broncos for breakfast. Both underdogs have already beaten the favorites this year. 49ers beaten the Rams twice. Bengals beat the Kansas City a few weeks ago. Any given Sunday, right? We'll see what happens. When Patrick Mahomes goes nuclear, it's pretty damn hard to beat the Chiefs. But Patrick Mahomes, as we've seen, he's not the same high variance that we see with Josh Allen, but he is prone to throw up some turnover-worthy plays. And with the Bengals, with the weapons they have and whatnot on the defense that they have, if Patrick Mahomes, let's say the Bengals get into a 14 or the Chiefs get into a 14-0 hole in the first half, maybe they can start to squeeze out the clock a little bit. Pretty hard with the Chiefs because they can go nuclear and move the ball 70 yards in 13 seconds. But any given Sunday, man, these are tough teams, and football is a game that's played in the margins, especially in the NFL. So Bengals are not hopeless in this game.
Ethan, remember our food for thought last week? that Tennessee Titans were 4-0 against the teams that were remaining in the playoffs, and I told you, I said, there's something in my brain that just can't make the connection. I feel like they are the weakest team that are still in the playoffs on the AFC side. Yet they beat all the teams that they might face. That didn't jive with me. Something didn't work out. My gut was telling me that this was the weakest team. They were. Regular season doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You're not going to convince me. Going back to, I was a anti-playoffs guy in the college football for a long time. That was back when they were playing 11 games, not 15. And I'd make these arguments all the time that it's the only regular season that matters. Well, what about this? What about this? No, the Giants proved everything when they went 9-7, lost all 3 games to the teams they beat in the playoffs on the road as a wild card. The regular season does not matter. What matters now is I think Kansas City is a better team. I think the LA Rams are the better team. I don't think the weather is going to be a factor in order to help neutralize, especially in LA, to help neutralize the passing game of Matthew Stafford. And they've got a really good front four with the Rams. That I like the Rams in this one, and I like the Chiefs. So Chiefs Rams in the Super Bowl.
Go Von Miller, baby. That's what I'll be saying. I don't give a bleep if it's the last pick in every single round. I cannot see Kansas City winning another Super Bowl already. I'm going to be beside myself. It's pretty unfortunate that the Bills probably. You think the Bills win that game if it's in Buffalo? Probably, right? I mean, it's who knows.
Yeah,
but
probably with the sound, with the home field advantage was enough. I mean, that was a scratch game. Yeah. Going in, I said this feels like a pick'em. And when I was asked on the Buffalo podcast, who thinks going to, I said this feels like a pick'em to me. And then Kansas City will probably be favored by the home field margin. That's how it turned out. Yeah. Kudos to, I think it might have been Boomer Esiason. I was watching the CBS pregame, and I think he was the one that had had it going into overtime. I think he picked the Bills. We said this one's going into overtime. So nice job on the pregame show. I give those guys enough hell that I want to make sure that you call them out when they do a really good job.
Yeah, nope, absolutely. That's a good call. Any more supers in here that we want to get to right now, or do you want to talk some more about the games here?
I think we're caught up, except for this spammer that you've probably already bounced.
I blocked him. Yep.
Yeah, you got him. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. We got Nathan saying Bills win this game if they win the coin toss. Definitely possible, but unfortunately, that's the way the game works. I personally would have squibbed the kick there to give because I think I could clock 5 seconds off there, and I think then the Chiefs only have
because I've watched it, and remember, you got to remember how many leads I've seen blown in my lifetime as an Atlanta sports fan. The squib kick is maddening when you're in a 3-point game, because most of the time it's kneeled down by the front line.
Yeah.
So you're giving the other team the ball at the 40 or the 45, and you didn't run a second off the clock. And with 13 seconds left, boot that thing through the end zone and make them go 25, 40 yards in 13 seconds. Because again, what you'll see on a squib like that is the ball will roll and they'll just fall on it. Whoever it is will just fall on it. And if it happens to hit one of the up men, you just gave them 20 yards and you didn't run a second off the clock. So in a 3-point game, I think the squib is the absolute. Like I said, I've seen it backfire so many times that it's maddening. So if you can kick it through the end zone, do it. If you can't, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with squibbing it. If you don't, but every kicker can kick it through the end zone right now. No way. Boot it through the end zone. Put them on the 25. There's 13 freaking seconds left.
Yeah, I was hoping to get it down to maybe 8 seconds where they have time for only 2 plays.
They wouldn't pick it up.
You
wouldn't pick it up. You just fall on it. The clock doesn't start until the offense touches a ball, and if they don't put it in play and they fall on it immediately, the clock doesn't tick. Not a second.
I think I probably would have pooched it to the 10 then. Maybe not a squib, but something where you're forcing them to field it in some way. I mean, it's an NFL kicker. If they can't do that, then I don't know what to even say. But where they are forced to field it a little bit. I don't know if
it's different in the college, because the college rules, you can fair catch that one now.
Yeah, I don't think you can in the NFL. So that's probably what I would have done, just to force them to field the play there, to take 5 seconds off the ball. And I understand that, bad things can happen in those situations when you're giving those kicks. But when other times bad things can happen is when you give the ball to Patrick Mahomes So I'm taking off as much time as I possibly can before giving it to Patrick Mahomes, especially that team should have known how gassed the defense was. They were running on fumes. The cornerback room was, I mean, they already lost Tre'Davious White. I guess hats off to Johnson, who played a pretty good game there for the Bills, but their cornerback depth was their Achilles heel, I would say, coming into this game, and it showed there at the end.
Yeah, almost take your chances with the return, make it returnable one way or another, but a squib can backfire spectacularly. If you can kick it as high as you can to the 10, make them field it while you can get down there. Yeah, I'm okay with that, but the squib, like I said, I've watched them do it. And Matt Ryan has a ton of field goal comebacks. Most of his comebacks are field goal. He's so bad in the red zone. Falcons have always been so bad in the red zone. Most of his comebacks have all been field goal. So it's squib, cover it. You're at the 35. One decent pass play and you're in field goal range. So it's the squib. No, it's the wrong call. Yeah. You cannot convince me otherwise. I've seen it go wrong way too many times. You get better field position and no clock.
Yeah.
So Peter coming in and said, when the Broncos played the Bengals, we were fighting for the wild card spot. But now look at them. Why isn't their OC getting a second interview? They've done great since that game. Where is he being interviewed in other places? Because remember, we're looking at things through tunnel vision. I get the feeling that the Broncos think that they get whoever they want. It's what it feels like, Nick. It feels like we can get whoever we want. We're the number one choice. We're drafting first in this quarterback battle. Maybe Brian Daboll said thanks, but no thanks. Maybe Brian Callahan has said thanks, but no thanks. So there's that type of information too.
Yep. We'll see what happens with that in that regard. But Callahan, I was decently impressed with the Bengals this season. It's hard to say what they should have done with the offensive line, given how bad it was. When you're dealing with that much of an offensive line, it's really a testament to Burrow to hang in there and create those plays. But we'll see what happens with the Bills going forward, or the Bengals going forward. Just maybe not as impressive as those other guys. I don't know. Maybe also you think that O'Connell can do a better job creating passing offense regardless of the quarterback, given what he's done with Goff and now Stafford one season versus maybe having a first overall pick coming of age in Joe Burrow. Maybe that's a little bit more impressive with O'Connell. So who knows? We're not in the room. We can only speculate. Jelly coming in, 199 super. Who's O'Connell's coordinators if hired? #MHH. Oh gosh. Excellent question. Typically you see them pick some of the guys from the staff that they were on, but I'll be honest, I have not done that much of a digging in the Ram staff. I don't know who O'Connell's inside people would be in this situation. He's probably people knew that Hackett and Quinn from the beginning were probably the most likely guys, but after that it was, we'll see who impresses. O'Connell apparently is the dude, but who's his coordinators? I don't have a lick of clue right now.
Yeah, so I just brought him up because I'm like, all right, who might you bring with you? And I just noticed that Thomas Brown is the running backs coach. He played in 4A with Sean McVay, which is kind of interesting. I didn't know that's where he was. They were probably 10 minutes apart in high school. Sean McVay was at Marist and Thomas Brown was at Tucker. Thomas Brown was a big time recruit and went to the University of Georgia. Assistant quarterbacks coach, Zach Robinson, been there 3 years. Someone that you might want to keep an eye on. Older guy, Eric Yarber, wide receivers coach. He's been there. He's been coaching 10 years. So those are the kind of things that I look at for, you're not going to have a defensive coordinator make a lateral move. And Raheem Morris could end up being a head coach during this cycle as well. A lot of eyeballs in here. We got 323 on a Monday morning. I feel like that's about as high as we've posted. So make sure you're hitting that like, subscribe, and share button. We appreciate you're taking your morning with us on a Monday.
Yeah, and Ethan coming back in here to support us before we get on out of here, saying Sean Hockley is my hero, stood up to Brady and called BS on his language to the officials.
After he missed the call.
After he missed the call. Yeah, any of the Hockleys are okay in my book. They just have to order an extra small ref shirt from Foot Locker and just hit the weight room. I loved Ed growing up, one of my favorites, and now Sean's in the game. So anybody who can stand up to Brady and tell him to shove it where the sun doesn't shine is okay in my book.
Yeah, Brady had a point. So it was one of those where you feel like, I'm going to earn my 15. I did get hit in the helmet. He did hit the crown of his helmet in my face. Look, my effing lips bleeding.
Yeah.
But you don't give away all of your secrets before the game. You basically taunted the refs beforehand saying, yeah, I get away with trash talk to the refs a little bit, a little bit. And, Hockley's probably saying, not on my watch, you're not. Now I'm pissed. So, wait until after this season to say something like that.
Yep. Absolutely. And we got Pablo coming in. Showing that Broncos country is everywhere, not just in Denver and Colorado, but everywhere. Pablo, shout out from Brazil. I've been watching you guys since the Bulls draft cycle. Oh my gosh, Pablo, that's a ways back. What should be the top 5 draft prospects for the number 9 overall pick for the Broncos? This is a good way to get on out of here. For me, my top 5 would be I think there is a pretty clear top 5. I'm going to take Derek Stingley out right now because the foot stuff actually scares me a tad for him. From somebody said, hey, watch out for that foot. When I hear that, I'm like, maybe pump the brakes. So top 5, Evan Neal, Ike Ekwonu, the 2 offensive linemen. After that, it is the 2 edge rushers, Aiden Hutchinson and Kayvon Thibodeau. And then after that, it is Kyle Hamilton.
Start over, read the question. Which would be the top 5 prospects for the Broncos at 9? You just mentioned 4 guys that aren't going to be there at 9.
I'm making my big board with the top 5. The top 5 right there. If I have to take out those 5, then I'm looking at the cornerbacks and the next group of edge rushers.
Yeah. Guys to watch. Maybe Kyle Hamilton falls. Maybe safety.
Maybe Derek Stingley.
Who needs safeties? Derek Stingley could drop there. Maybe Ekwonu is a possibility. I don't think so at this point though, Nick.
No.
I think So you're looking at defensive end, edge guy Ajabo from Michigan, possibility. Karlaftis, I've seen him all up and down the board. George Karlaftis, edge, Purdue. How about Leal? Could Leal have a monster pro day and jump his way into that top 10?
It sounds like there is some character stuff that might knock him down the board where he's actually more likely to be a day 2 pick than he is a round 1 pick, despite his pedigree. There's he was just arrested for marijuana, which again, I don't care that he's smoking marijuana, but to have marijuana with this interview process coming up is a little bit of
make good decisions is what that means. And that's a poor decision.
Yes. There's apparently we'll just see how that plays out, but there's a reason that his profile is sliding, I think is the way to put it. There's both linebackers there. I don't love using a first round pick on a linebacker, but I do think that with the versatility and the size and the movement skills that Lloyd out of Utah is an option there. I would take him over Nakobe Dean. I think he's more scheme transcendent than Nakobe Dean isn't. Nakobe Dean is fast, but to be as small as he is, you need to be a piss missile. And he's not. I don't see him. He's not as fast as Devin White or Micah Parsons. And he's, 20, 30 pounds smaller, which matters. So I don't like him as much. Sauce Gardner, Andrew Booth Jr., both guys I would consider up there that impressed me a heck of a lot. And then also I think you have a chance that you could see that 3rd offensive lineman rise a bit as well. I'm curious, Senior Bowl guy. You're going to be down there to see him. Trevor Penning. He's one who is 6'7", 320. If he goes down there and dominates in Mobile, he's somebody who I think could push his stock up into the back end of the top 10. The other one who is a dark horse still here, I didn't really love his tape so much, but I think a lot of it is what George is asking him to do, and that's Trevon Walker. You just don't see many guys who are, 275, 6'4", with the arm length and the movement skills that Trevon Walker has. I wish he plays defensive end sometimes like an offensive tackle, where he's just too happy to be in a stalemate and use his length and we're in a stall. Looks great. He'd be a great offensive tackle, but is some of that Georgia holding him back to make a second layer of coverage and to protect the quarterback from sneaking out? I don't know. I couldn't speak to that, but there's a bunch of guys at 9. I listed my top 5, but after those 5, really, I don't know. That speaks to this class as a whole.
There's lots of guys right now. Who'd be your top 5 prospects for the Broncos at 9? I think a dream is a guy like Kyle Hamilton falls down the board and you plug him in as a starter at safety, which there is an opening. Caden Stearns could have that spot, but right now there's Justin Simmons and a vacant safety spot, and Kyle Hamilton's plug and play, and he can change everything you can do. And then the corners that he mentioned, Sauce Gardner, Andrew Booth, Derek Stingley. And then maybe one of the offensive linemen. Charles Cross could be an option coming in at right tackle. So those are guys to keep an eye on. And I would not put necessarily a linebacker in that spot. And I definitely would not put a quarterback as the top 5 guys you're hoping to get in that spot. One more before we get out of here on the coaching search. said, did you see how the Broncos have been doing behind-the-scene videos on the head coaching search? It looks pretty cool. I saw the tweet. I didn't watch the video. I'm just interested in who they get, not how they get him. But that's just me. I've got a ADD brain. I scrolled past it.
Yeah. I've not seen it yet, but we'll see what happens. I enjoy those after the fact, but I'm so busy. I'll be honest with you. This weekend was a lot of football walk, a lot of outside time because it didn't rain back-to-back days in January in Seattle. So you got to make sure you enjoy your outside time when that happens. And I'm starting to really grind college tape. So what the Broncos are putting out, that's great and all, but I need to make sure I understand who these prospects are in the top 100. So that way I can talk about it. Vin coming in here. What do you guys think about the Green Bay writer who tweeted Rodgers and Adams for 4 first-round picks and a second-round pick? First off, I think I would do that. You bring in Adams with those guys and whatnot. But the big question is here, where's that extra first-round pick coming from? Because you can only trade first-round picks up to 3 years in the future. So 2022, 2023, 2024. Broncos don't have 4 first-round picks in that time. So you have to do something to get an additional first-round pick before that's even possible.
Those guys are on the last year of their contracts.
Yeah.
That's something else to consider also.
Yeah.
Is, wait for a year and, you tap up Devontae and say, play your contract, dude. And I'll make you the highest paid receiver in football. Yep. We've got the money to do it and it won't cost me anything. So first off, I think that's way too much, period. Second off, it's not possible. You don't have 4 first-round picks to trade. And third, both of those guys are in the last year of their contracts. You're selling. You're selling, so typically you're just trying to get something for them before they walk away in free agency. You're not going to get a bounty like that. So Green Bay writer who tweeted that Rodgers and Adams for 4 first-round picks and second-round picks. Pie in the sky, my friend. Pie in the sky. And Vin, welcome to the show.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Vin. It's possible you can trade 4 first-round picks, but you have to have them over 3 seasons. So like right now, the Philadelphia Eagles could trade 5 first-round picks if they wanted to because they own 3 in this draft cycle. So there's not a limit on first-round picks. I guess there is because there's only, 32 times 3 available over 3 seasons. But nobody's going to own that many first-round picks. But you have to accumulate those picks. There is one weird caveat rule where once the first team is on the clock officially, that's when the 4 seasons in the future first-round picks become available. So when the draft is ongoing, the 2025 first-round picks will be available to trade. Such a weird rule, but that's the only possibility. Green Bay going to franchise tag Davante Adams. That's what it sounds like. And
Bama X saying, well, Green Bay is going to franchise tag. And Green Bay is going to have to do some creative cap work. And I'm not sure throwing $20 million on Davante Adams is going to help them get out of their $50 million hole right now. If you look at their dead cap versus their salaries and start doing the reverse math, who are some of the guys that are going to be set up for restructures? Davante is one of those guys, and franchising him is just going in the wrong direction. And then Albert coming in has a good comment here. With Sutton, Patrick, Judy, and Hamler, why do you need Adams? That is where you start talking about maybe you use one of those guys as part of a trade package for your quarterback if you go after him. But then, it's like we want Rodgers and Adams. You guys can't afford them. You need some salary cap relief. Here, why don't you take one of our former first-round picks who's 10 years younger? But again, 4 first-round picks and a 1 or whatever. You lost me at 4 first-round picks. It just unprecedented, not going to happen, and especially not for a guy who's 39, for God's sakes. No way.
Yeah. I can't say that I'm totally against the idea. I'll put it out there just because when you have the quarterback, you have a shot, and I don't even think your window opens up until then. But who knows? I think I'm willing to risk it, I think, at this point. But you probably need to. I would be looking to maybe trade somebody like Klee comes in here saying Chubb, Judy, Fant, to make that first round pick not as bad. And also, you're talking about with Aaron Rodgers, you're talking about the first round pick hopefully being pick 26 or later every single year. And that, you could have 3 picks in that range right now, and that wouldn't equal the 5th overall pick in this upcoming draft. So a first round pick is not equal a first round pick. You should be expecting those to be at the back end of the first round. And that makes it a little bit more palatable for me, but I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Guys, we're going to get on out of here as long as you know there's supers coming in. We appreciate you guys so much. We will see you again tomorrow morning to further break this down to see if there's any news coming out from the Broncos coaching search.
Could be a gut reaction pod.
Could
between
be a gut
now
reaction
and the next
pod.
24 hours. Gut reaction. Broncos name new coach. that was what somebody led off with. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're still talking second interviews. I think you whittle it down, you get it down to your 3, a little bit more due process, and there's some negotiations going on for sure.
Yep.
So I don't expect it. I don't expect it today.
Yeah. Nope. Me neither. But who knows? We'll have the second round of interviews here, and what makes it. I think there's also information here where the Broncos can second round interview the likes of Dan Quinn and Nathaniel Hackett, but they're going to have to wait for O'Connell, and maybe that makes it a little bit tougher to bring in O'Connell. So we'll see what happens here. But thank you guys so much for joining us today. We got Dylan saying great conversation as always, everyone. Make sure you hit that like button on the way out.
One more thing. If it lasts through the week, it is O'Connell. If it goes radio silence, it's O'Connell. That means they've got their guy.
Yeah. And he was one that after they named him, I was like, ooh, that one really interests me because I'm looking for a offensive mind who helps the quarterback and comes up with a scheme where the first guy is open. And you also isolate good playmakers. And guess what? I mean, Cooper Kupp's a great player on his own, but some of that is scheme where the first read is open that consistently with the pre-snap motion to get it, go from a 4x1 to a 2x3 and go ahead. Sorry.
Matthew Stafford's got one of the best arms I've ever scouted.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been a Detroit Lion. It's crazy. Detroit has in its history 3 of the greatest players of all time, 2 of them unquestionably in Calvin Johnson and Barry Sanders. And Matthew Stafford was criminally underrated because he's playing for the Detroit Lions and they've done nothing. Yeah. I mean, how long before you go down an all-time list before you hit Barry Sanders? I bet you the guys above him played from some meaningful football games, at least in a Super Bowl. Do the same thing with Calvin Johnson. I bet the guys above him have a couple of rings. Mm-hmm. But, it's Detroit, man.
Yeah.
Matthew Stafford is really, really good.
Yeah. He is. I mean, who knew? Odell Beckham can still play. It's just if your quarterback can't hit a backside dig, maybe you're not going to be very good. I feel like I got groupthinked into loving Baker Mayfield. I was a little bit skeptical from the beginning. Should have stuck to my guns on that one. I should have stuck to my guns on Josh Allen too.
I'm a fan of Baker Mayfield. Just look at the record of the Browns before he got there. I mean, you have to take all this as, relative. Their record was like 4-60 4 years before Baker Mayfield got there. It's all relative. We're not all the Denver Broncos out here in football land. I tell you, we don't all have 6-8 Super Bowls under our belts and 3 or 4 wins. It just, you're talking about a team that's never been to the Super Bowl. It was a laughingstock since they got reinstated after they got stolen by Baltimore. I mean, it's relative.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But Baker Mayfield this year was bad. I think that's not relative. Maybe he was broken. Maybe something else is going on there. But this year, not good. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. We'll see you again tomorrow morning. You can follow Scott and I on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy. I am at Nick Kendell MHH. Also, make sure you're following us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. If you guys like the coffee mugs, the gear, etc., drinking here, everyone. I hope you're enjoying your coffee. Make sure you head over to huddleuppod.com to check out the gear there. If you like the gear too, but you're thinking, I don't really want to spend the money on that right now because you're just helping us so much with the contributions in the live chats of the live stream. Make sure you go to Apple Podcasts, leave a 5-star rating and a review for a chance to win some of the gear for free. That helps us a lot too. Go to facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod to join the conversation there. And also subscribe, like, and share to YouTube, not only Mile High Huddle, but also Scott's channel at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy, where Scott is going to be in Mobile in a week and a half now, 2 weeks. So where's Scott's beanie? There's the question.
Next week we'll be in Mobile on Monday. My beanie is sitting on the couch where I was watching the games last night. So it's sitting upstairs where I had it on all day. I had on my Chelsea stuff and my Broncos for breakfast beanie all day.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Maybe got to wash it. Or you can just wear the same sweatshirt over and over again like I do to bed so Ethan can give me a hard time. You guys, we love you. We're going to get on out of here. You can see that I'm crazy and disheveled. I need to get going. I got to get on into work. Love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow. Go Broncos. Have a good one. Choose kindness. Choose compassion.